Liam Burdett, Head of Talent and Learning for GXO UK and I.
Ryan Simmons, Continuous Improvement Manager for GXO at our Selby site.
I think for me, when I think about solution design, I think about delivering for our customers. I think in GXO, we're always looking for opportunities to deliver a stronger performance, stronger results for our customers, and solution design can do that. Whether it's the latest in technology or just coming back to some of those basics in CI, that that ability to be able to deliver a better service and a better result for our customers is something that can be done through solutions.
I think that's a really good point. I think one of the recent projects that we've been on is understanding the new capabilities and obviously the cost constraints of our customers and understanding the adaptive tech. So through solution design, we were able to understand the full supply chain of said customer and understanding how we can implement adaptive technology into their supply chain to overall reduce costs and improve efficiency.
Mm-hmm. And I think for me as well, working in the talent and learning space is the continual fast-paced of evolution within solution design brings up that challenge around people's capabilities. And certainly for me, I think that's going to be one of our big challenges of the future, is finding the right sort of people to be able to learn and unlearn the types of capabilities and skills that are going to be required to deliver those types of technologies in the future.
Absolutely. I think there's quite a when I'm completing a solution design or looking at an operational solution design aspect, I think there's quite a wide variety of skill sets that they require, like problem solving, data analysis, implementation. Then you've also got the customer facing aspect, because then you've got to be able to talk through the whole solution to the customer and make sure that your presentation or your pack clearly articulates the full solution end to end, but in a simplistic term, so the customer can understand and have confidence in the design overall.
So I think just coming to you, I mean, you talked there really extensively about solutions, and I know that you're really knowledgeable about the way that we operate our business in GXO, but actually you're fairly early on in your career. So, what does that look like so far?
Yeah, so I think so I've been with GXO for around 4.5 years now, and I think it's been multifaceted, my role, and I've had like tons of opportunities to advance my own personal and professional development. I think that's what's linking into solution design. So I started at our Selby site as a management apprentice, end to end, looking at solutions. Then managed to get a promotion into continuous improvement coordinator, and then within a year I managed to get a promotion to continuous improvement facilitator, and now my current role is continuous improvement manager. And what that does is a typically end-to-end role is I look at operational efficiency, productivities, looking at adaptive technology and automation into our operations, but also about two approaches. So understanding how we can take costs out of our operations, but also ultimately on how we can develop our customers in putting costs in, but ideally overall improve revenue. So whether that is through value-added solutions of customization or value add or repair tech through our multiple streams of ESG networks, we can overall improve revenue, but also look at reducing costs. And then I've got aspects around environmental, as I touched on the social side, so I'm very much into my engagement piece. And then the governance aspect on trying to remain compliant within our operations and support our customers with that whole environmental compliance perspective.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think for me, I'm probably a little bit further on in my career, but I started operationally on the ground floor, and I think for me, as you kind of grow through your career and move on, that ability to be grounded in that initial sort of operation helps you to look at problems and challenges in a different way. I think it also provides you with that sort of credibility. I think interestingly enough, I've been in learning, training, development now for probably the best part of 20 years.
Wow.
And the reason I came to that, I was working in an operational role, and at the time I was actually working in hospitality, not logistics. But I was approached by a project that was looking at working with ex-offenders and giving ex-offenders the opportunity to train, to learn, and to be given a job. And it was one of those moments in my career where I was kind of like, you know what, yeah, I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna give that a go. And it was a fascinating time in my life. I was two to 3 years going in and out of different prisons. Would that be male, female, young offenders. And off the back of that, we were able to offer real opportunities in our businesses across UK and Ireland for people as they came out of prison. But I think it's interesting because that was a moment in my career where I was like, you know what? When you talk to people and you go, yeah, development's a great idea. Learning new things is a great idea, but actually you realise that providing that opportunity for people to grow and develop can help change and improve their lives and the lives of others.
So probably a question going back to your original point. So I think a lot of, I don't know, fresh starters coming out of either university or coming out of school are always wanting to go into perhaps a managerial role. Now, from my career path, I've always noticed that it's always important to start from ground up, from a basic level, because as soon as you're into those meetings, you're going into customer meetings, you fully understand the full supply chain. Would you agree with that approach? And have you seen that that's how you, I don't know, get promotions better, or you're better rounded as an individual to support with promotions?
Absolutely. I think, you yourself, you say you've come through the degree apprenticeship program in GXO, which is, as we know, is a program that has huge credibility in the industry, because it allows, young people coming out of college between the ages 18 and 21, they have the ability to come and earn and learn and build that career from the ground floor up. But at the same time, they still get that university experience. And at the end of those 3 to 4 years, we'll often find that those, like yourself, have grown more rapidly and improved and developed a career more quickly than people that maybe have not had that opportunity.
Do you think the landscape is changing from a graduate perspective to a degree apprenticeship change? Because I've seen a massive, well, I've been super thankful to GXO with the opportunities that they've given, and having at this point now not only coming out with a degree, but then also having a green belt and a yellow belt in Lean Six Sigma, IOSH managing safely, and a whole heap of 4 years of operational experience sets me so far ahead of individuals that perhaps go to university. So do you think that will change as a future from an employer perspective on more degree apprenticeships coming in than graduates?
I think it's one of those where it's probably less about there being more, but more about providing different opportunities to different types of talent groups. Okay. One that we've talked about is degree apprenticeship. Of course, we have an extensive graduate program, which is, every year operationally driven, where instead of like as a degree apprentice, where you might sort of go around and stay in one site, you would move around multiple sites over a space of a 2-year program. I think, if you look at the types of things that we do, not just in the apprenticeship space, but also within GXO University and our internal and development programs that support leaders at all levels, the ability to be able to understand where people's potentials are and match the right sort of development and training really ensures that potential can come to fruition. Give us a snapshot of your sort of daily tasks and what you do on a daily basis.
Okay, so probably first of all, I come into the office, always say good morning to all. Then it's straight onto the shop floor, understanding the key priorities of the day. Have we got any issues? Are we facing any system issues, downtime? And have we had any no-shows? And are all colleagues okay and turned up to safe to work? Then always second of all, like everyone else in logistics and anyone in a management position, it's always straight onto the emails, checking out what's a priority, flagging anything that's essential. Third of all, is planning out the day. However, most of the day, I was always like to plan the day beforehand, from the night before. then understanding the key priorities of that day and managing my time from that calendar point of view. Then it's always jumping onto a few meetings casually throughout the day, whether they're customer facing, whether they're internal, whether it's around site carrying out Gamba walks or Kaizen events related to continuous improvement. And then it's probably finishing off, sending a few emails, data analysis, and then back up, checking with my colleagues around operations and go live projects. Is that something similar?
Well, and I think there's the beauty of our industry right there is, my role is very different to that. And I think if you look across our business, you got everything from warehouse colleagues, you can drive a truck, you can get projects, you can lead finance teams, you can lead customer service teams. The huge diversity of opportunity to develop and grow within transport and logistics is incredible. And we often think about it in GXO less around that kind of careers ladder, but more almost a kind of lattice by where people can go and get different experiences as part of their career. I mean, myself, it tends to be quite an early morning start and get into the car. Guess what? And get on the road. And it can be very different from different days. Some days I may be in our head office in Northampton, working with senior leadership teams or key stakeholders in the business, always looking for those opportunities to provide support, development and training across our business. Other days, like today, I can be, in a site, working with a site leadership team, being on a warehouse ground floor. Special projects I get involved in, new customer tenders. My job has a huge amount of variety. I'm, very busy as you are, but I think for me that variety and that drive to deliver on results on a daily basis is where I get, my personal satisfaction from.
I think that's what I particularly like about GXO is the drive to keep on getting better and better. And they're very much not a reactive business, they're more proactive, trying to understand. And I think that's evident in the GXO University Suite, is that how many apprenticeships we can develop our colleagues on site and actually get to that next level of leadership and management style.
Yeah.
I think probably one question is that from my perspective is looking at a couple of myth busters. So I think from if I track back now 5 years ago, leaving school, never really understood logistics. But what I never understood is when I integrated is why I would have a finance manager or a health and safety manager. And I think that's one particular myth buster that I've integrated into a site. And not only do we have warehouse colleagues or managing operations, but we also have a finance team, a training team, an IT team, a health and safety team. So I think predominantly it's not just moving a pallet from A to B, it's not picking and packing a parcel. We've got a multifaceted area of different skill sets to make sure our customers' operations run safely. Yeah. Is that something you find with most degree apprenticeships or new people coming into
so whether I'm talking to my 18-year-old son or I'm out in schools or working with universities, I think that's one of the important messages I try and get across is just that variety of career and growth opportunities. And, I think, look at yourself, you've grown so rapidly in such a sort of short period of time. I mean, as somebody who has managed to be promoted, as regular as you have, what would you say has been kind of like your secret sauce? What would you say has helped you kind of move through that ladder, if you like?
I think probably one point that I'd mentioned before that is that sometimes people may think the degree apprenticeship's an easy option. It's not. You are managing a full-time education, a degree, and you're doing a full-time job as well on the side of that with deadlines incorporated into that. However, I think probably why I've had perhaps a little success around my 4 years with GXO is probably around, I always keep on saying this and people do know me for this, it's just around saying yes to anything. Understanding whether it's small or big, it's just opening up to new opportunities and getting networking. Any opportunity to advance your skill sets, your personal and professional development will always get you to that next level and have a broader understanding of logistics. So I probably would say that's probably my key highlight of my secret sauce.
Yeah, I'm going to say I love that. I mean, one of my favourite kind of quotes is "jump and the net will appear," and I think that happens a lot in GXO. You know, we are a super fast-paced business. That fast-paced, that acceleration provides loads of opportunities to get involved in a variety of different things. And I think, like yourself, if I look at different, members of my team, if I look across my sort of network, my stakeholder group, I see lots of individuals that have done many different roles and had a lot of different experiences in GXO. So yeah, no, I agree. Say yes and then work out afterwards how you're going to do it, right?
That's absolutely true. Do you think as well from a solution design point of view, it's I think one of the points from my perspective is that we're trying to get in a lot of adaptive tech into operations, and that's where solution design comes in. From a kind of corporate perspective, are we employing more solution design, and is there a demand out there and a long-term job role? Or is it more of a short suite in the fact that we'll have adaptive tech and we will no longer need solution design into our operations?
No, I think it's like for us, it's a mix. It's a blend, right? I think some of the latest statistics around, job roles of the future are things like, in 5 years' time, 80% of the current jobs will be redundant in some way or another. So that ability to be able to learn and unlearn and adapt quickly in the people capability space is very, very much important. In GXO, we are we are people centric. We are we invest in our people, but we also recognize that there are across our estate a mixture of different customers that require different solutions. And you're right, they could be highly automated. We have an extensive group level solutions teams that will work with those customers to find the right high-end solution. Of course, AI has played a big part in that right now, talking a lot about the sort of super worker and how that will impact on our daily duties. But also across our states, we've still got a lot of what you call maybe more traditional kind of warehouse and transport operations. And again, even in those more traditional, we can do a lot in the solution space to help kind of deliver the performance and ultimately the results that the customer wants.
I like to touch on artificial intelligence. I think it's a particular one that I'm interested in. I think it's going to be leading the sector. I think trying to build AI-driven decision making, it helps and takes the complexity out of those really difficult supply chains and supporting our colleagues making those difficult decisions, but also automating some of the roles. Because, for example, trying to make the point on out of 1,000 SKUs, which one's going to be picked next, and how we can optimize that performance using AI. So I definitely think that's a key skill going into 2025 that's going to be crucial.
Mm-hmm. And if you think the impact on the talent space, I've been reading a bit of research recently around some of the global think tanks, and they're very much talking about this kind of the rise of the super worker. So it doesn't matter if you are working in a projects team, you work on a warehouse ground floor, you're driving you're driving one of our trucks, you're the CEO of our business. The onset of AI is going to affect us in some way, and that means as a learning and training and talent function, we have to be even more agile, right? Yeah. And that ability to deploy learning and training at speed is going to help us to deliver our results for the future. Ryan, you're a degree apprentice. What's some of the highlights of your journey so far?
Wow. So I think there's way too many. I think my main highlight is probably the variety that I get. I think from any point I can be completing the National Three Peaks from Martin House charity partner, going up Snowdon, Ben Nevis and Scarfell Pike, or I can dive straight into a new business tender and looking at a £3.5 million new customer. Then from straight into speaking at the Houses of Parliament, around advocating for degree apprenticeships, with then speaking with the new government around how we can further promote degree apprenticeships within businesses. From that point onwards, going into solution design on customer brunches, with working with the new adaptive tech to implement into our solutions. So I think probably the main highlights from my perspective is the whole variety that I get within my job role, and from one skill I'm utilizing to another skill I'm utilizing. However, probably what I would mention is probably the toughest element is around trying to look at juggling both the work aspect and the degree side. You've got deadlines, you've got essays to submit, you've got presentations to complete, but then you're also, as you're working your way up the ladder, you've also got to complete deadlines from a work perspective. So trying to make sure that and juggle the both is a task. However, when you get the right combination and you manage your workload and priorities accordingly, it does work, and the blend works well together. I think what I couldn't do without is the support of GXO with the 20% off the job learning, and trying to support and really increase my personal and professional development to support with my academic studies and so on.
And what would you say to anybody joining the degree apprenticeship program, or any of our apprenticeships, or embarking on a career in GXO? What would be your kind of top tip there to make sure that they're successful? What have you kind of learned, or has there been any kind of mistakes that maybe you made and you go, you know what, if I had it again, I'd maybe do that different?
I think it wouldn't be right for me to sit here and say that I haven't made mistakes. I've made plenty.
Oh God, I've made a few.
I've made plenty. Nothing worth highlighting, but I've made plenty. And I think the main point that I've learned is when you do make a mistake, it's no problem to highlight that to your line manager. Yeah. I've got a really good line manager at site, and if I do make a mistake, what I always make sure is understand the problem and then present a couple of solutions. So I'm not just going in there and saying, oh, I've got this problem, help me find out a solution. I've gone in there, I've thought about it and reflected on it. But always, most importantly, at the end of the day, I always reflect on the top of my day. And I think that's most important, is understanding what went well, what didn't go so well, and on how I could do better. Yeah. And I think that's always one challenge that I've faced and learned from. Yeah. Is that something that you see with most new talent? Is that a typical?
Yeah, I think those that are successful, like you say, they fail fast, they learn and reflect and move forward, and that acceptation that making mistakes is just part of the learning process, right? We all make them. You know, I've made plenty in my time, and I think I think for me, as you kind of grow through your career and you look for those opportunities to develop and learn, one of the recommendations that I'd always say is just think about the network, think about the people that you work with, think about the relationships and how you can leverage those relationships as you grow. I always like to think a little bit around the sort of idea of after a hard day, a hard shift, whatever it is, take the long route home. And by that, I don't mean get on the bus or walk home. I mean, wherever you are, whether you're on a warehouse floor, whether you're sat in an office, take the opportunity to walk the long way back, because it's surprising who you will encounter on your way. And building those relationships and understanding other people's challenges and other people's viewpoint will often lead to kind of further opportunities. So building that network for me is one of those key skills that it doesn't matter what part of your career you're at, always got an opportunity to develop and work on your network.
I couldn't agree more, to be fair. I think when you're going into difficult situations or you need a problem solving and you haven't had previous experience, if you have been on that walk around, or you have gone to that network event and you have spoke to our marketing manager, or you have spoke to our legal team, or you have been in that business development or project manager call. So for a recent example, we were managing a go live, haven't had any experience of managing a go live. So I reached out to our projects division had a quick call, was completely open, saying have no experience, and they gave me some top tips on understanding how to manage a project to start and to completion, and with also some frameworks and some tools that I could utilize to make sure the project was a success. So I think those are all good ways in trying to reach out to the broader network of GXO. So I couldn't agree more.
Ryan, you've grown extensively in your career so far, it's just a small period of time. But what's next for you? What's the next role looking like? What's the next stage of that career?
So I've always taken an approach on a 2 year block. So I do a 6 month and a 2 year block. Sorry. And as a 2 year block, I'm just coming to the end of my degree apprenticeship now. So I will graduate in November, I believe. And from that, I would really like to advance my qualifications and my overall knowledge, education-wise. So I would like to start taking a dive into complete a master's in leadership and management. That would be a fantastic opportunity if I can enroll on that. And I would also like to look at the Lean Six Sigma approach in completing a black belt, because I definitely think that the future, the industry leaders, the appetite out there for cost cutting and cost saving for our customers is growing and growing, and I don't think it'll ever not grow. Therefore, I think it will be a crucial key skill set going forward. However, I'm all about trying to get a diverse kind of skill sets, so I wouldn't neglect any opportunity to further advance into a continuous improvement role, or look at project management, or go into operations. I always think to keep your options open for the age I am now, and to get that wider skill set as possible to try and support any future job roles going forwards. So that's kind of a high level summary on where I see myself in the next 2 years. I know it's very vague, but it's some of those key aspects I would like to bake in the next 2 years. Is that something similar for yourself, or?
Well, I guess, if I look
Your
at
skill sets.
so I look at my next step. Ultimately, I want my boss's job, right? So that's kind of the way I look at it. I work UK and I at the moment, and we're a large global business, big customers in the pipeline, lots of opportunity to grow UK and I. That's happening globally as well. My direct line manager is responsible from a Europe perspective. So, I look at that as being my next opportunity to grow. And I think, as we talked before, an important part of that is stepping into those experiences that can provide you with the opportunity to grow and meet the requirements that you're going to need for when those opportunities come available. But again, always be open to anything else that might be coming your way. Yeah.
How exciting.